Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to Niall Matter, one of the stars of the sci-fi hit Eureka. Stick around, and just to be on the safe side, keep this one away from your girlfriend, your wife, and I suspect your mother isn't immune to this guy's charms either. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. MrMedia.com, mrmedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 900 archived celebrity and pop culture interviews for your listening and viewing pleasure. The show is brought to you today by Audible. Audible is offering Mr. Media listeners a free audiobook download and a 14-day trial offer to give you a chance to check out their very cool service. I love listening to books on tape. If you've never tried it before, actors or sometimes the authors themselves read to you. It's great for the commute, the beach, or even unwinding before bed. You can choose a free audiobook from Audible's enormous library of sci-fi titles, including Where's My Jetpack by Daniel H. Wilson, The Greatest Science Fiction Stories of the 20th Century, and The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. Here's an excerpt from The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury.
The Martian Chronicles was published in the late spring of 1950 to a few reviews. Only Christopher Isherwood placed a laurel wreath on my head as he introduced me to Aldous Huxley, who at tea leaned forward and said, "Do you know what you are?" "Don't tell me what I'm doing," I thought. "I don't want to know." "You," said Huxley, "are a poet." "I'll be damned," I said. "No. Blessed," said Huxley. "Truly, genetically blessed. And the blessing lies in this book."
You could also download The Profiler, written by famed criminal profiler Pat Brown and yours truly, which Pat will read to you personally. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of panting young women who are complaining that the living room studio could really stand to have a full liquor bar and more Chex Mix in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. Bad news for former Ugly Betty actor Christopher Gorham. Buddy TV just named Niall Matter the hunkiest nerd in the history of TV. That's right. He's laughing. That's right. The man who plays Deputy Sheriff Joe's love interest, Zane Donovan, on the sci-fi hit Eureka is officially hot. Of course, the women in my household have been saying that for some time now. The smoldering sensuality, the bad boy antics, the reckless behavior, all wrapped up in the mind of a scientific genius, apparently makes for good TV. Whatever. Look, if you've never watched Eureka, which returns to Sci-Fi for season 4.5 on Monday, July 11th at 8 p.m., what's wrong with you? It's one of the smartest shows on TV these days, always managing to one-up itself. It's part of a lineup of great returning summer shows alongside Warehouse 13 and Haven. And thanks to an inspired new take on the old alternate timeline scheme, Matter has earned an opportunity to return to Zane's wilder nature. Before several of the leads went back in time to World War II-era Eureka, he was on the verge of marrying Deputy Joe, or at least so we believed. But when their return to modern-day Eureka happened and screwed up the time-space continuum, and you know what happens when the time-space continuum gets screwed up, Zane knew nothing of the other Zane's proposal, and instead of being ready to wed, he was ready to party all the time. Well, sharp-eyed viewers probably already recognize Matter from stints on several other sci-fi standards, including Stargate Atlantis and Warehouse 13, although he may be best known to others as Mothman from the film adaptation of the Watchmen graphic novel. Well, now it's my absolute pleasure to greet the only man to ever be a guest on the show and possibly be better looking than me, Niall Matter. Welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's just take that. Let's let folks take that in, the two of us in one screen. How about that, huh? Yeah, I know. It's a little hard to get over. So, hunkiest nerd in the history of TV. I know I'm not telling you something you hadn't already heard about. Do I envy you or feel bad for you with that?
I don't know. I don't know what you would do with that. I don't even know what I'm doing with that. I was called by my manager, and they sent this email after the phone call, and I didn't know how to react. I just kind of laughed at it. To be called hunky and then to be called a nerd, I was like, oh wow. Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's kind of yeah, it's kind of weird. You know, I had actress Faith Ford, who used to be on Murphy Brown. She was on the show a few weeks ago, and I had read that in 1991, People magazine named her one of the sexiest people on Earth, or something like that. And
Yeah.
I said to her, you know, when there's a reunion of the sexiest people from 1991, you know, who else would be there? She said, I don't know. She said, I didn't pay any attention to that at all, and I don't know who else was on the list, and I'm very uncomfortable with that. And I thought, really? Boy, I'd be telling my grandkids about stuff like that. But I don't know. Is it weird to hear that, you know, you're on a list like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the first part is just well, actually, they're both genetic dispositions, I guess. The nerdy part though is I got everyone fooled that they think I'm smart. Got that. I mean, the looks thing is just that's just I don't know. I mean, how do you take that really? I mean, I don't really know how to take that, so it doesn't really affect me either way. But I had a good laugh at it. That was for sure.
Fair enough. Have you gotten teased about it at all on set?
No, no. Colin said something about it, but he wasn't teasing me about it. He just said, "Hey, man, I see you made that list. Nice." And that's about it. Yeah, our family unity is pretty strong on Eureka, so there's not much teasing that happens.
Yeah, okay. But well, I was going to ask you later, but I'll ask you now. I mean, anyone who follows the Twitter feeds of both the cast and some of the crew and creators of Eureka, you guys interact all the time. It seems like it. You do get a sense that it's a very
Yeah.
tight knit group.
Yeah, it's a very tight-knit group. It's actually they are the reason why I actually got on Twitter because they were all doing it last season, and I vowed to never get on Twitter. I didn't want to, and it was actually during our downtime. I was down in LA with Colin, and we were hanging out, and he thought it would be a good idea. So I ended up getting on, and yeah, mostly I interact with the other cast and crew on Twitter, but I'm expanding slowly but surely. I'm getting used to it.
Okay, now I got to ask because you brought it up. Where do Niall Matter and Colin Ferguson, two of the male leads of Eureka, off the show, hang out? What do you guys do? I mean,
Well, I can't really give that away.
well, I mean, you know, is it that you go out for dinner? Do you go bowling? I mean, you know, how
No,
do
no,
you?
it's we mostly get together whenever one of our hockey teams are playing. I'm a huge Edmonton Oilers fan, and he's a Montreal Canadiens fan, and we'll go to whatever seedy dive sports bar is in the area and watch the game there. That's what we do normally. Pull up to the bar and order really bad food that makes me go to the gym for 3 hours the next day, and yeah, and drink some beer.
Well, all right. So I have to ask you: is it a good thing or a bad thing then that Winnipeg is getting a team again? I mean, I'm thinking that fans of Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto. I mean, Montreal. You think this is something you've been able to hold over the heads of people from Winnipeg for years that they haven't had a team, that they were a second-class city, but now they're getting a team again. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Winnipeg had a team before.
Right, but they haven't. They had the Winnipeg Jets, but I mean they haven't had a team for years.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and no, Canadian cities don't do that. We don't. I don't think we really hold that over any other city's head. We're really happy that there's another Canadian team now in the NHL. I mean, the more the merrier. If there were more cities in Canada, maybe we'd have more teams. I mean, we're a small nation.
Yeah,
We're not, I mean, we're big in size, but small in numbers.
and so gracious, so damned gracious.
Yeah, there's a lot of polite people up here, that's for sure.
All right. Well, I want to get to ask you about Eureka, of course, but I got to ask you one more thing because I know it's like when I have a beautiful young actress on the show, people want to know certain things. I got to ask you certainly for the women in my house and for the women who will be watching this, married, single, committed, you know.
Oh, I'm in a very committed relationship. I've never been married, but no, unfortunately, I'm not single.
Yeah, I would think it'd be a great time to be single, being the hunkiest nerd on TV.
You know what? Actually, it's no, I like being in a committed relationship. It's one of the greatest times to be in a committed relationship. To tell you the truth, you have someone to share it with. I think a lot of people nowadays forget that it's important to have somebody to share something with.
And so, would you say that your girlfriend, I guess, or is closer to I have to ask this, to Joe or Allison on the show?
My girlfriend has never seen the show.
No, but I mean, is she more like the character of Joe, or is she more like the character of Allison, or not at all?
She would be more like the character of Allison.
I was guessing
Yeah.
that. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the show. I won't bother you anymore about your private life. It's very uncomfortable. It gives me the willies to do anyway, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Um, let's get a little caught up on how the last we saw of Eureka ended. Uh, Joe and Zane were kind of working their way back to something going on. Where did things end, and where do they pick up as 4.5 starts?
4.5. As 4.5 starts, Zane is he's aware of the fact that they had something before, and he's getting frustrated because he can't figure it out. So in the season premiere of episode 4.5, Zane and Fargo end up going through a situation that brings them really close together. And in that situation, Zane has the ability to kind of put him on the spot and really question him about everything. And a lot of understanding comes out of the initial episode back, which is great because then we're able to go from there and see how Zane works at discovering something again with Joe.
As I recall, the trigger for this starting again was Joe had Zane's grandmother's ring, was it, around her neck? And
Yep.
Zane couldn't understand where did you get that, and it kind of triggered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it triggered a lot of things for Zane. I mean, he's no slouch in the mental department. So he just started tracing things back and figured out that it would have been impossible for her to have got that ring without him giving it to her. You know, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
Now I know you're in the process of filming season 5 right now, so you
Yeah.
know the answer to this question, and I certainly appreciate that you probably can't tell me. But let me ask you this: uh, I would, I'm envisioning television being what it is, that Joe and Zane will have a long courtship, if anything, that we're not going to finish season 4.5 with a wedding or anything, but there'll be a courtship. It's fun to see these two, dating and working their thing out.
You know what? I can honestly tell you it is a very, very long, drawn-out courtship between the two characters, and it's been a lot of fun because it makes it a very mature relationship. And there's always something different going on with the two of them now. Rather than just getting into a simple solution and solving their relationship issues and being in a relationship, now you see them struggle to try to figure out if they even want a relationship with each other. And ultimately, they do figure things out and figure out which direction they want to go, either individually or together. And it's been a lot of fun to play with that. And it carries on all the way up to this point in season 5 as well.
The writers of Eureka, and I love the show. People who listen to this know I'm a big fan of Eureka. They've done wonders with the relationship between the Sheriff Carter's character and his daughter, where she was
Yeah.
the wild thing before Zane came to town. She was wild and always getting into stuff, and then she settled down, and then Zane showed up, and Zane was the wild card, and they settled him down. And it's amazing that you've had this opportunity to play this wild character yet again.
Yeah, it's actually been a big gift to me as an actor to have got that reset in the timeline because Zane did he really did settle down, and doing the restart just opened him back up to a whole different world of possibilities again.
I'm guessing the alternate timeline was completely constructed so that they could take Zane back and do a year one with Zane all over again. Had nothing to do with any of the characters, right?
Probably not.
Now, I did notice that in the main image on the Syfy page for Eureka, I was looking at it today, that you are pictured. How can I put this? the main cast is pictured, and you're there. I see that. Oh God, I promised I wouldn't call him the Old Spice guy, but oh gosh, the 1940s Doctor. Oh, I'm just drawing a complete blank.
Oh, James.
James, yeah.
James Callis, yeah.
Yeah. Last season, it seemed like he was in those pictures. He's not. I don't recall if you were in the main cast images when season 4 began, but you're certainly big and prominent in the images now.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever made the cast images ever. To tell you the truth, I don't know why. I'm not sure why, but I've never made them before. And if I'm in them this season, that's news to me, because you're telling me that right now. I didn't even know that.
Folks, go look at the Eureka homepage on Syfy, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Very prominent in that image.
Go look at that right now.
Yeah, push me off the screen. One more question, and we'll take a quick break. Tell us about your, if you wouldn't mind, tell us about your off-camera relationship with Eureka Sarah, who plays Jo. And is she as much a firecracker, off screen as she is on?
Oh yeah. Eureka is a firecracker. She always has an opinion. She's always talking. If I'm talking about something, she always throws her 2 bits in. She's hilarious. She's funny. She keeps the set very lively and very active. That's for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's take a quick break. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to and hopefully watching the Mr. Media interview with actor Niall Matter. I got it right. One of the stars of the Syfy original series Eureka, which airs every Monday night this summer at 8 p.m. And we'll be right back.